Sagittarius, there is a father and a young woman who performed a spiritual ritual right at the altar with your photo on it, and you still don't know about it. But your body, your intuition, has already begun to send the warning. If lately you've had restless sleep, if you've been dreaming about your old home, or feel short of breath when you look at a family photo, then this video is for you. Because I am about to tell you the names of two people who are manipulating your spiritual energy from within your very own family. And if you are a Sagittarius, the one who has always chosen to break ancestral curses that no one else is strong enough to face, then the next 30 minutes will change the way you look at your family forever. Leave a comment right now. I am ready to break the ancestral curse and reclaim my soul. Because when you write it, the energy begins to shift. There is a kind of feeling that science can't measure. But Sagittarius, you feel it clearly. Wherever you are, at a family dinner, in a quiet room, or simply glancing at an old photo, you know something is not right. Have you ever stepped into your childhood home and suddenly felt a chill, even when it's warm outside? Have you ever had the same dream repeat again and again? You're standing in front of an altar, and your picture is there? You are not paranoid. You are not overly sensitive. You are simply receiving a message sent by your sixth sense. In astrology, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of faith, wisdom, and expanded awareness. Those born under Sagittarius don't just live by logic or emotion. They live by a higher vision and a spiritual radar that no one taught them, yet they've always had. That is why, in many Western bloodlines, the Sagittarius is often the first to detect a disturbance in the lineage. They don't need physical proof. Just one glance, one silent moment, is enough to reveal who is hiding a dark intent behind the mask of family. Do you remember a time when you looked someone in your family in the eyes and saw a cold, hollow space? Or maybe you touched something in your home, an old photo, a dusty book, or a small object left on an altar, and suddenly felt your energy being drained? That was not a coincidence. That was a warning from your soul. According to the birth chart, Sagittarius is the seeker, the one who walks alone, traveling far and wide to uncover the truth, even when that truth hurts. So when you begin to feel uneasy around images of an altar, ritual objects, or certain members of your own family, it's time to trust the signals the universe is sending you. Rituals performed in the dark, whether through whispered curses, enchanted tokens, or the combination of photographs, candles, and resentment, always leave energetic residues. And the soul of Sagittarius is deeply sensitive to such residue. You may not hear the curse, but you'll feel it. Interrupted sleep, unexplained drops in mood, sudden memories of a family member accompanied by an unshakable sense of suffocation. Have you ever felt that? Leave a comment. I once felt something I couldn't explain, but I knew it was real. Because when you write it down, you're not just sharing, you're affirming to the universe that you've awakened. And here's what makes Sagittarius unique. Even if you were born into a family that never spoke of spirit, even if they mocked you for saying, "I feel something isn't right," you've always known more than anyone else. Because the soul of Sagittarius doesn't just see what others miss. It has the courage to ask the questions everyone avoids. Why do I feel uneasy when I look at that picture on the altar? Why does she look at me like she knows something I don't? Why does the room feel heavy the moment I enter the house? Don't dismiss your intuition, Sagittarius, because that intuition may be the only thing saving you from the invisible web of spiritual manipulation woven quietly around your life. And the most important thing of all is this: you are not alone on this journey. Thousands of other Sagittarians are experiencing the same quiet confusion, each of them holding a puzzle piece in the greater picture of collective spiritual awakening. If you feel you're standing in front of a truth your soul has been trying to warn you about for years, hold on to that feeling. Because in the next part, I will reveal the name of the father and the young woman who performed a ritual using your photograph on the family altar. And what they truly wanted wasn't just control. You may have once believed that no matter who hurt you, your father would never be one of them. He raised you, taught you, protected you from the world. But slowly, you began to feel something breaking apart from within. Not abandonment, but control. Not neglect, but an energy of dominance deeply rooted in spiritual lineage. Mystics and esoteric scholars have long taught that the position of the Sun and Saturn in the Sagittarius birth chart often reveals karmic entanglements with the father, a bond that is sacred, but also carries the shadow of unresolved ancestral debt. Many Sagittarians were born not to carry that lineage, but to break it. And the painful truth? That lineage often begins with their own father. Now, the father we speak of in this reading is not necessarily a bad man. But he is a soul still ruled by a deep fear that if you become too free, you'll leave. You'll walk away from the order he's trying so hard to preserve. So to keep you close, he uses faith. He uses silence. He uses the altar. And sometimes he even uses rituals he doesn't fully understand, believing it's the only way to bring you back. You have to return. You must stay under the family's roof. You belong here. Have you ever felt trapped under the weight of your father's disappointed gaze? Even as an adult, have you ever witnessed him doing something spiritual but felt a chill instead of peace? Perhaps you've seen a candle always burning near the family photo, a prayer whispered in a strange tone, or words like, "Go, if you must, but you'll come back eventually." In astrology, this is what we call a Saturnian pattern. A form of generational authority warped by fear of losing control. And when a father senses that his child carries the gift of spiritual sight, he may try to dim it before it sees too much. Sagittarius, you are that soul. You are the flame that shakes the truth loose from where it's been buried in your family. You are the first to ask the question, while everyone else chooses silence. And that is exactly why the ritual was performed. Do you remember the last time you disagreed with your father? Do you remember his eyes when you said, "I don't believe in what everyone's doing. I'm going to live my own life"? That moment, a ritual may have been set into motion, not out of hatred, but out of fear of losing power. On that altar, your picture wasn't placed there in remembrance. It was placed there to hold you back, bound by an invisible chain, called bloodline. You are a Sagittarius does not bow before ancestral weight. In your chart, you were given the sacred task to break generational curses through the power of freedom and truth. Have you ever felt like your father was controlling you, not with commands, but with silence, with expectation, with family obligation? If so, say it. Comment, "I am breaking free from my family's inherited pattern, and I choose freedom." You're not alone in this. Thousands live in the shadow of what they call a perfect family, but their souls are screaming in silence. And if you think the father is the final stop in this story, you haven't looked deep enough. Because beside him stands a young woman, carrying a newer energy, but she is the one who completes the ritual on his behalf. In the next part, I'll tell you exactly who she is, why she knows about your photo, and what it is she truly wants. To make you step back, fall silent, and disappear. You once believed she was harmless, gentle, quiet, always smiling, always there when something happened in your family, like someone sent to fill the void. But have you ever noticed that only when she's around, your energy begins to fade? There are people who enter our lives not with sound, but with a presence as thin and lingering as smoke. They don't create chaos. They don't do anything wrong, but after they leave, you're not the same. This girl, she's not the one who created the ritual, but she is the one who finished it. Have you ever experienced this? Meeting someone younger than you, but feeling like you're being watched. Receiving a call or message from a girl you once knew, and that night, dreaming of candles, an altar, and a photo of yourself. Falling into sudden sadness right after speaking with someone, and not being able to explain why. It might be her, the one someone trusted or trained to carry out an act that seemed simple, placing your picture on an altar, calling your name, repeating a prayer that was never meant to bring peace. Not people, not because she hates you, but because she believes. You need to stop. You need to fall back. You need to return to where the family believes you belong. There are people who live in your home but do not truly belong to it. There are eyes that look at you like they know something you do not. She could be the daughter of the man you call father, a relative on your mother's side, once praised as the good child, or a young soul who bears your family name, but not your best interest. When a photograph is placed on an altar, the energy does not stop at the image. It becomes a summoning, a way of calling your name in the unseen spiritual realm. And if the one calling does not hold genuine love in their heart, what they send out is not a blessing. You are a Sagittarius, born with a direct soul and a fiercely intuitive spirit. You've had your doubts. You felt that something was wrong, but you didn't want to believe it. Because once you smiled at her, you let her call you sister, aunt, or even dad's girlfriend. There's something people rarely speak of. Not everyone performing a ritual knows exactly what they're doing. Some simply follow tradition, do what they were told, repeat what others before them did, thinking it's just part of the family way. But the consequences are still real. And you, someone deeply sensitive to energy, have absorbed the full weight of that aftermath. Recurring dreams, exhaustion without a cause, a fear that has no face, a sinking feeling that always returns on waning moons or the days her name suddenly appears in your mind, for no clear reason. None of that is coincidence. Your soul is raising the alarm. If you're hearing these words and your heart is beating faster, that's a sign. You're not imagining it. You're not weak. You are feeling something real. And you don't need proof, because what your soul feels is the strongest confirmation there is. It's time to return your light to yourself. Write down or silently whisper the name of the first person who came to mind when you heard this part. Don't judge, just observe. Then say to yourself, if you're holding something that doesn't belong to me, I give you permission to return it. I don't hate you. I just no longer carry that spiritual burden. If you've ever met someone who gave you chills for no apparent reason, if you've ever looked at a young girl and felt yourself shrink inside, share that story in the comments. Because there are other souls who feel exactly what you're feeling, but haven't found the courage to say it out loud. Do you know why people fear your awakening? Because once a Sagittarius sees the truth, they can no longer be controlled. And the light within you is exactly what makes those behind the ritual start to panic. In the next part, I will tell you what makes you untouchable, what makes every ritual against you fail in the end, and why, from the very beginning, you were chosen to break every binding your ancestors never could. Nonetheless, no one ever told you this, but there's a very clear reason they tried so hard to keep you close. Because if you walk away, if you awaken, every curse in the bloodline will begin to collapse. Have you ever wondered why you've always felt like the one who doesn't fit in? Why they call you stubborn, too blunt, too wild, too unpredictable? You were never wrong. You were never lacking love. You were made to break what others learned to live with. Sagittarius is the symbol of light in search of truth. The image of the archer, half human, half horse, aiming the bow skyward. That is your emblem. You did not come here to bow. You came to rise and aim straight for truth. In the soul's map, Jupiter, the planet that rules Sagittarius, represents unshakable faith, expanded vision, and spiritual power no one can imprison. The truth is, those who carry Sagittarius energy do not fall easily to illusions. They are not hypnotized by blind tradition, and they do not submit to authority unless it is rooted in love. So when your father placed your photo on the altar, when the girl called your name in that hidden ritual, they knew it was the only way to keep you from leaving, spiritually. Because if you awaken, if you break that invisible thread, you won't just walk free. You will unravel the silence that has lasted for generations. You are the one in your family who always asked the questions. When the whole house went silent, you asked, "Why is it like this? Who said that's the truth? Why must I follow this if I don't believe in it?" You never destroyed faith. You simply chose to rebuild it in your own way. And that is what the darkness in your family fears most. Curses don't always pass through spells. They travel through quiet obedience. This is just how it has to be. We must honor our bloodline. You must obey. You must accept. But then you, a Sagittarius born to bow to nothing, stood up and said, "No." When you said no, the energy began to shift. And when you walked away, not from defiance but in search of light, the universe began to rearrange itself. They may have called you ungrateful, the one who turned your back on the ancestors. But the truth is, you turned your back on no one. You simply restored the order of your own soul. And in doing so, you set others free, the ones in your bloodline who never dared to use their voice. So if you've ever felt alone, if you've ever asked, "Why am I the one carrying all this conflict?" here is the answer. Because you are the only one strong enough to face it. You are the only one in your family who carries the essence of fire, the soul of the journey itself. You're not here to destroy. You're not here to get revenge. You're here to transform. Maybe you failed before. Maybe they misunderstood you. Maybe you spent years inside a toxic silence you couldn't explain. But in that darkness, you built something no one could see. A sanctuary within, where truth would be protected. And now, as you listen to these words, you are not just awakening. You are remembering your sacred task. You are the child who questioned. The woman who chose solitude over pretending. The man who chose loneliness over obedience to something that wasn't right. Sagittarius, you carry a light no altar can contain. And if anyone thought they could bind you with ritual, they've forgotten this. You are not a soul that can be shackled. You are the one who came to break the chains. If these words resonate with your spirit, leave a comment. I am not a victim. I am the light awakening. Because when you write it, it won't just confirm what you already know. It will begin unlocking the healing your soul has been waiting for. You don't need to apologize for walking away. You don't need to explain why you didn't follow the path they laid out. Because your existence as a Sagittarius is already living proof of a higher journey. And if something inside you has begun to rise, then in the next part, I will guide you through a simple ritual, a way to cut every invisible cord from your body and call back every piece of your soul that was once held hostage on altars that were never made of light. There are things you're carrying, not because you wanted to, but because they were placed on your shoulders in silence. And you have every right to give them back, not with anger, but with love. You don't need to understand the entire ritual that was done. You don't need to know exactly who did what, because your soul already knows. And that knowing is enough to begin. This ritual isn't meant to fight anyone. It is a way to return what is not yours and call back the parts of your soul that were bound by spiritual ties that never belonged to you. Here's what you'll need. A small candle, white or yellow, symbols of light. Avoid black or red. A blank sheet of paper, a glass of clear water, a quiet space, and a heart ready to release. Begin the ritual. Sit upright. Close your eyes. Place your right hand over your heart. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. When you feel ready, take the candle, light it, and gently whisper to yourself, "I give myself permission to be free. I call back every part of my energy that has been held, and I return what is not mine. With love, with light, and with cleansing grace." Next, on the sheet of paper, write down the name or description of anyone who has ever made you feel spiritually drained, manipulated, or energetically controlled. If you can't remember the name, just write, "The one who called my name in the dark. The one who placed my photo on the altar without my permission. The one who held part of my soul without understanding what they were doing." Then, fold the paper. Place your hand over it and say, I acknowledge you. I do not hate you, but I no longer carry your karmic burden. I send you back to your own energy. Finally, burn the paper if safe, or tear it into small pieces and bury it in the earth if you cannot use fire. As the ash falls, or the paper dissolves into soil, imagine that every invisible thread is dissolving from you as well. Drink the water, place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and say, I have returned to myself. I am protected. I am beginning again. You don't need to do this perfectly. You only need to do it truthfully. And when you do it with a conscious, open heart, the universe will complete the rest. From this moment forward, you may begin to feel lighter when you wake. You may dream less. The tension in your back when you return to your hometown may ease. The invisible voices in your mind may go silent. Because you have returned what was never yours, and you have redefined the boundary of your soul with awareness and love. If you've done this ritual, or if you're simply feeling a subtle shift within yourself, leave a comment. I have returned and I am healing. You are a Sagittarius. You don't need anyone else to validate what you're feeling, because your soul itself is the clearest proof that you are moving closer to true freedom. In this final part, I won't be telling you anything new. I'll only help you remember one truth, that the choice has always been yours. Not fate, not family, not the one who once placed your photo on the altar. You and only you are the one who gets to decide whether the light stays or fades. There's one thing I haven't said to you until now, but now is the moment your heart needs to hear it. You were chosen, long before you were born, a child of light. Not because you were smarter, not because you were holier, but because you were brave enough to say no to the very thing others stayed silent about. You are a Sagittarius, a child of light, born from the blazing arc of the universe's sacred bow. And you were sent into a family that was never easy, to do the one thing no one else dared to do, to look straight into the darkness and walk through it. Maybe you had to walk alone. Maybe they hated you for speaking the truth. Maybe they called you ungrateful, rebellious, the one who didn't belong. But in the unseen world, something greater is happening. When you break a cycle of suffering in your family, you are saving souls who never had the chance to save themselves. You are the first to walk away, so the cycle would not repeat. The first to forgive without forgetting the truth. The first to choose light without asking permission. And if your heart has ever asked, am I on the right path? Was I really chosen by the universe? Then this is your answer, yes. You are the one. You are not a flickering candle, you are the torch. You were not born to be accepted. You were born to illuminate the path others were too afraid to walk. Now you face a choice. You can return to who you were, stay quiet, play safe, and let that photograph remain on the altar, a symbol of your restraint. Or you can rise with the light you've now remembered and walk forward, carrying with you release, clarity, and an entire bloodline finally beginning to heal. You don't need to ask anything more. Just listen to one question and answer it, without words. Do you believe you were chosen? If the answer within you is yes, then from this moment forward, everything will begin to shift. Not because the world has changed, but because your strength has finally stepped forward. If you felt this in your soul, leave a comment. I was chosen, and I've remembered my mission. If this video touched your spirit, like it, share it, send it to someone you love, or someone who needs this light right now. Not to spread this message, but to spread a silent, sacred act of healing. I know you're tired, but you're still walking. I know you've doubted, but you still believe. I know you've thought of giving up, but you stayed. And that alone is enough to call you the chosen one.